The rain-slicked streets of Portland gleamed under the sodium lamps like veins pulsing with unspoken regrets, and that's when George slammed his fist on my desk, shattering the fragile illusion of professional distance between us. "You think you can fix me, Mason? Like I'm some broken toy from your Ivy League playbook." His voice cracked like thunder over the Willamette, eyes wild with a fury I'd only seen in men who'd lost everything but their pride. In that moment, as the first drops hit the window behind him, I realized this wasn't just another session. This was the unraveling of us both. I never meant to fall for a patient. That's the first rule they drill into you at grad school. Boundaries are your lifeline in this line of work. But George Harper crashed into my office like a nor'wester off the Columbia Gorge, all jagged edges and unyielding storm. It was a Tuesday in early fall, the kind of Portland day where the sky hangs low and gray, threatening to drown the city in its melancholy. My practice sat on the second floor of a converted Victorian on Northwest 23rd, the kind of spot with creaky hardwood floors and a view of artisanal coffee shops below. Clients came for the vibe as much as the therapy, hipsters nursing their traumas with oat milk lattes. George was different. He showed up 15 minutes late for his intake, drenched from the downpour, his leather jacket slung over one shoulder like a defeated cape. Mid-30s, built like a lumberjack who'd traded axes for craft beer. Broad shoulders, calloused hands, a jawline that could cut glass. His dark hair was tousled, flecked with premature gray at the temples, and his green eyes held the haunted glint of someone who'd stared too long into the abyss. He dropped into the armchair across from me without a word, crossing his arms as if daring the room to contain him. "Tell me why you're here, George," I said, keeping my voice steady, notepad balanced on my knee. "I'm Mason Ellis, 38, the guy who traded Wall Street burnout for a couchside view of the human soul. Divorced 5 years ago from a woman who said I analyzed her more than I loved her. Fair point. No kids, no pets, just a one-bedroom in the Pearl District and a rotation of houseplants that somehow survived my neglect." He snorted, staring at the fern on the windowsill. "Court ordered. Assault charge. Bar fight last month. Guy called me a fag, so I rearranged his face. Judge said talk it out or do time." The word hung in the air, sharp as shattered glass. Portland prides itself on progress. Rainbow flags on every corner. Pride Month that shuts down the bridges. But under the craft brew and kale smoothies, there's an undercurrent of the old Pacific Northwest grit. Men like George, raised in logging towns east of the Cascades, don't bend easy to labels or vulnerability. I nodded, jotting notes without judgment. "Sounds like it escalated fast. What triggered it for you?" "Triggered." He leaned forward, elbows on knees, his scent, pine soap and faint whiskey, cutting through the lavender diffuser I'd installed to calm nerves. "Life's a trigger, Doc. Ex left me for his life coach. Yeah, irony's a bitch. Jobs circling the drain. I'm a welder at the shipyards, but automation's chewing us up. And yeah, I'm gay, but saying it out loud feels like handing over your balls on a platter." We talked, or rather, coaxed. He deflected for the full hour. He painted a life in broad, angry strokes. Small-town boy who fled Bend after coming out at 19, only to find the city lights didn't erase the shadows. Hookups in dive bars, a string of boyfriends who bailed when the tenderness got too real. No family left. Dad died in a mill accident. Mom remarried a Bible thumper who called George an abomination. By session's end, he cracked a smile, wry and reluctant, when I quipped about Portland's therapy density rivaling its food carts. "See you next week?" I asked, standing to shake his hand. His grip was firm, lingering a beat too long, sending an unwelcome spark up my arm. Boundaries, Mason. I was the guide, not the fellow traveler. He paused at the door, rain pattering against the glass. "Yeah. Maybe you ain't full of shit after all." That night, I poured a glass of Pinot Noir and stared at the city lights from my balcony, the Willamette snaking below like a silver vein. George's words echoed, "Life's a trigger." I'd built my practice on unpacking those, but his hit different. Raw. Real. I told myself it was professional curiosity. Nothing more. Week 2. He arrived on time, bearing a 6-pack of IPA from Breakside Brewery as a peace offering. We cracked one open against protocol, but hell, Oregon rules are made to be bent, and dove deeper. He spoke of his ex, Tyler, a graphic designer with a loft in the Alberta Arts District. Thought he was it, you know? We hiked Multnomah Falls, fucked like rabbits on his velvet couch. Then he says, "George, you're too intense. I need space to breathe." George's laugh was bitter, hollow. Space. Code for, "You're scaring me with your feelings." I listened, probing gently. What did that feel like? Being too intense? Like I'm a goddamn volcano, ready to erupt and burn it all down. He drained his beer, eyes locking on mine. "You ever feel that, Mason? Like you're holding back a flood?" The question pierced. My divorce replayed in flashes. Emily's tears, my endless questions. "Why does this make you feel unsafe?" Until she walked out. I'd buried that under case files and continuing ed credits. "We all carry floods," I said carefully. "Therapy's about finding the dam that holds." He nodded, but something shifted in his gaze. Appraisal, maybe hunger. When he left, the room felt emptier, the air thicker. I canceled my Friday night plans, opting for a run along the East Bank Esplanade, pounding pavement until my lungs burned. Distance, I thought. Keep it clinical. But George didn't make it easy. By week 4, our sessions had a rhythm. He'd storm in with a grievance, the shipyard layoffs hitting close, a hookup ghosting him after one night, and I'd unpack it, layer by layer. He'd resist, push back with that stubborn fire, but cracks formed. He admitted the bar fight wasn't just about the slur. It was the echo of his stepdad's voice, the loneliness gnawing since Tyler split. One evening, as twilight bled purple over the West Hills, he lingered after the buzzer. "Hey, Mason. You got plans? There's this food cart pod on Division Best Tacos in the city. My treat. Not a date. Just thanks." My pulse quickened. Ethical red flags waved like mad. "George, you know we can't. Fraternize? Yeah. But off the clock? Come on, Doc. Live a little." I went. God help me, I went. We sat on a picnic table under string lights, rain misting our shoulders, demolishing Al Pastor and laughing about Portland's obsession with weird shit, voodoo donuts, naked bike rides. He was magnetic, that laugh rumbling low, his knee brushing mine under the table. "You're not what I expected," he said, wiping salsa from his lip. Thought therapists were all tweed and Freudian slips, and I thought welders were all beer guts and bad tattoos. I shot back. gesturing to the intricate Celtic knot peeking from his sleeve, a nod to his Irish roots. He grinned, fierce and unguarded. Touché. But seriously, Mason, you listen. Like you give a damn. In the parking lot, as he pulled me into a hug, brotherly, he swore. The world narrowed to the heat of his body, the stubble grazing my cheek. I pulled away first, heart hammering. This stays separate, George. Sessions are sessions. Whatever you say, boss. But his eyes said otherwise. That night, alone in my apartment, the city humming below, I crossed a line in my journal. He's teaching me to feel again. Dangerous. I poured another glass, watched the rain streak the windows, and wondered if Portland's endless drizzle was washing away my resolve, or just mirroring it. The sessions blurred into something intimate, charged. Week 6. He confessed the nightmares. Flames from his dad's accident, morphing into Tyler's face-screaming abomination. I guided him through EMDR, our knees inches apart, his breath hitching as he relived it. When he surfaced, tears streaking his face, he grabbed my hand. Don't let go. I didn't. Not then. By month 2, the court reports glowed. George was engaged, insightful, but privately, we texted, memes about therapy fails, links to hikes in Forest Park. Harmless, I lied to myself. Until the night he called at midnight, voice slurred from bourbon. Mason. He's back. Tyler. Showed up at the yard today, all smiles and, I miss you. What the fuck do? I drove to his place in Southeast, a shotgun bungalow crammed with tools, flannel shirts, and dog-eared sci-fi novels. He opened the door shirtless, muscles taut under ink, vulnerability raw. I told him to fuck off. But it hurts, man. Like ripping out stitches. We sat on his sagging couch, a bottle of Boo Light between us. He leaned into my shoulder, the weight of him grounding. You're solid, Mason. Steady. I ain't used to that. My hand found his back, tracing the ridge of his spine. You're stronger than you think, George. Our lips met in the dim lamplight, tentative, then desperate. His kiss was salt and storm, hands fisting my shirt as if I'd vanish. We tumbled to the floor, clothes shedding like old skin, bodies colliding in a frenzy of need. He was all fire, urgent and unpolished, whispering my name like a prayer. I lost myself in him, the therapist dissolving into the man starved for touch. After, tangled in sheets that smelled of him, he murmured, "This changes everything, doesn't it?" I traced his tattoos, heart aching. It shouldn't. But yeah, dawn crept in, gray and unforgiving. As I dressed, guilt coiled like fog. I'd violated every oath. But walking out his door, Portland waking to espresso and bike bells, I felt alive, recklessly, terrifyingly so. Little did I know, the real storm was just brewing. The affair ignited like dry tinder in a windstorm. Fierce, consuming, impossible to contain. For weeks, we danced on the knife's edge, sessions by day, stolen nights by cover of rain. George's place became our sanctuary, a world away from my polished office and his gritty shipyard. We'd cook, badly, stirring clam chowder from a can while arguing over Springsteen versus the Decemberists, Portland's dueling soundtracks. His laugh filled the rooms, chasing shadows. My touch coaxed confessions he'd never voiced. "You're my anchor," he'd say, pulling me close after lovemaking, his body a map of scars and strength. I'd trace the burn mark on his forearm from a welding mishap, kissing it like absolution. In those moments, the city outside faded, the food carts, the bridges strung with lights, the endless parade of eccentrics. It was just us, two men forging something real amid the ruins. But Portland's progressive sheen hid fractures, and ours cracked first in the unlikeliest place. A queer open mic at Holocene, the club pulsing with bass and bodies. George dragged me there after a session where he'd unloaded about a homophobic foreman, subtle barbs, the kind that fester. "Let's blow off steam," he grinned, tugging my hand through the crowd. The air thrummed with poetry slams and ukulele covers of show tunes. We nursed whiskeys at the bar, his arm slung casual around my waist, thumb tracing circles on my hip. Felt normal, electric, until Tyler materialized like a ghost from George's past. Tall, lithe, with that effortless artist vibe, tousled blonde hair, ironic glasses, a tattoo of a compass rose on his collarbone. He sidled up, all charm and contrition. "George." "Been too long." His eyes flicked to me, praising. "Who's this?" "New arm candy." George stiffened, grip tightening. "Mason." "Friend." "Tyler." "Meet the guy who puts up with my bullshit." Tyler laughed, too smooth, leaning in. "Friend." "Huh?" George always did play it safe. He bought a round, the conversation veering to old haunts, burners at Doug Fir, brunches at Screen Door. I watched George thaw, that old pull evident in his softened gaze. Jealousy twisted in my gut, sharp and unfamiliar. "I'm the therapist," I reminded myself. "Observe, don't emote." But when Tyler whispered something in George's ear, too low for me to catch, and George flushed, I excused myself to the bathroom. Staring at my reflection under fluorescent buzz, I punched the sink. "What are you doing, Mason? This isn't love. It's a grenade with the pin half pulled." Back at the bar, they were deep in reminiscence, Tyler's hand on George's knee. I slid in, voice light. "Ready to head out?" Rain's picking up. George blinked, as if surfacing. "Yeah." Night. Ty. Outside. Under the club's awning. The downpour sheeted. Tyler called after us. "We should catch up." Gee. For real. George waved it off. But the seed was planted. That night, in the cab to my place, his truck was in the shop. We fought. Not yelling, but the quiet kind that slices deeper. "He's poison," I said, staring at the blurred streets. "You know that." George's jaw clenched. "Tyler's not the devil. He fucked up, yeah, but we had good times." "You sound like a jealous boyfriend, Mason." "I am your boyfriend." The words slipped out. Raw. He turned, eyes searching mine in the dim cab. "Are you? Or am I just your midlife crisis patient?" The accusation landed like a gut punch. At my door, he stormed off into the rain, leaving me with the echo of tires on wet pavement. I didn't sleep, replaying it, the bar's haze, Tyler's smirk. By morning, my inbox held his apology. "Sorry. Hungover and stupid." Coffee? We met at Coava on Southeast Belmont, the aroma of single-origin beans a bomb. He looked wrecked, stubble shadowing his jaw, eyes bloodshot, but when he pulled me into the alley for a kiss, fierce and apologetic, the fight dissolved. "You're it for me," he murmured against my lips. "Tyler's yesterday. You're now." Relief flooded, but doubt lingered like fog in the valleys. I pushed it down, focusing on the work. Sessions resumed, charged with undercurrents. He opened up about his stepdad's final rant. "You'll burn in hell, boy." The words that sent him packing at 22. I shared fragments of my own, the conservative upbringing in Boise, the secret crushes on high school buddies, the marriage to Emily as a shield. "I get hiding," I admitted. "But you're not alone anymore." Portland conspired to bind us tighter. We hiked the Eagle Creek Trail one crisp October weekend, leaves crunching underfoot, the Columbia roaring below. At Punch Bowl Falls, he dropped to one knee, not proposal, but play offering a pebble like a ring. "Marry me to this river, Mason. Eternal as the goddamn gorge." We made love on a blanket under ponderosis, the world vast and indifferent. Afterward, tangled and sated, he confessed, "Never thought I'd want this." The whole domestic shit, brunch dates, matching flannels. "But with you? Yeah." I held him closer, the sun dappling his skin. "Me neither." But here we are, the idyll shattered mid-November, with a phone call that redlined my heart. My receptionist, Lena, a no-nonsense dyke with a buzz cut and impeccable boundaries, buzzed me during a consult. "Mason, Tyler Harper's here. Says it's urgent. Family emergency." Tyler? No, George's last name was Harper too. Coincidence? Portland's queer scene was incestuous. But this? I rapped early, found Tyler in the waiting room, pacing like a caged wolf. "It's George," he said, voice cracking. "Accident at the yard. Welding torch malfunction, 3rd degree on his legs. Smoke inhalation. He's at OHSU, ICU." The world tilted. I drove like a demon through rush hour snarl, wipers slapping rain, horns blaring. OHSU loomed on the hill, a monolith of glass and steel. In the sterile halls, beeps and whispers, I found George, tubes snaking his arms, face ashen under oxygen mask, legs swathed in bandages. Tyler hovered by the bed, holding his hand. Our eyes met, a silent accusation. "How'd you?" I started. "Listed as emergency contact," Tyler said flatly. "Still am. Apparently." George stirred, eyes fluttering open. "Mason." His voice was gravel, hand reaching weakly. I took it, ignoring Tyler's glare. "I'm here." "Rest." The doctor, a harried woman with a stethoscope like a noose, pulled us aside. "Stable, but touch and go. Infection risk high. He's lucky to be alive." Hours blurred. Vending machine coffee, stolen touches over the rail. Tyler thought enough to share stories. George's clumsiness in the kitchen, the time they got lost in the Mazamis. "He loves hard," Tyler said softly. "That's why it hurts when it ends." By dawn, George rallied, squeezing my fingers. "Knew you'd come. Always." But as Tyler slumped in the chair opposite, exhaustion etching his face, I saw the fracture lines deepening. Discharge came a week later, George hobbling on crutches to my apartment, mine, for the accessibility. Tyler helped carry boxes, the tension thick as Portland fog. "Call if you need anything," he told George, hugging him tight. To me, "Take care of him." Alone, George collapsed onto the couch, painkillers dulling his edges. "This is bullshit. Can't even shower without help." I knelt, unlacing his boot. "I've got you." That night, as I helped him into bed, gentle, clinical touches turning tender, he pulled me down. "Love you, Mason. Stubborn bastard that I am. Love you too." The words were truth, unvarnished. But in the quiet, as his breathing evened, I scrolled Tyler's Insta-masochistic urge. A post from last month. Him and George at a vineyard in the Willamette Valley, arms around each other, caption "Second chances, wine and reconciliation." Dated 2 weeks before our first hookup. My stomach plummeted. Second chances? While I'd been falling, he'd been hedging. I deleted the app, but the seed of doubt sprouted thorns. Winter clamped down, Portland's rains turning to sleet. George's recovery was a grind. Physical therapy twice weekly, me playing nurse between sessions. Our love deepened in the mundane. Me reading Vonnegut aloud while he napped, him surprising me with elk sausage from a food cart, claiming it healed better than pills. Yet Tyler's shadow loomed. He'd text check-ins. "How's the leg?" And George would reply, "Casual." "Just a friend," he'd insist when I pressed. But one night, post-therapy breakthrough where he grieved his dad properly, tears streaming, he let slip, "Tyler's been good to me. Showed me it's okay to be." This, I echoed, hurt flaring. Vulnerable. Gay. Whatever. The unspoken hung. Before you. I swallowed it, but resentment brewed. Sessions with other clients blurred. A trans teen grappling with dysphoria. A bi couple navigating open marriage. But George's file mocked me from the drawer. I audited ethics webinars obsessively, the lecturer's voice droning. Power imbalance is inherent. Cross the line, and trust erodes. By January, George was mobile, crutches ditched for a limp. We celebrated with dim sum at a cart pod in Old Town, steam rising like offerings. "To us," he toasted with Baijiu, I sparkling. "To us." But as we walked arm in arm under the Burnside Bridge, graffiti whispering rebellion, a figure detached from the shadows. Tyler, coat collar up against the chill. "George." "Mason." His smile was tight. "Fancy meeting you here. Coincidence? Or Portland's cruel serendipity?" The encounter under the bridge wasn't fate. It was a fuse lit in the dark. Tyler joined us for a drink at the next bar, a dive called the Lovecraft with taxidermy on the walls and a jukebox heavy on grunge. "Just one," he pleaded, eyes on George like a moth to flame. I nursed a stout, the bitterness mirroring my mood, while they bantered about old band shows at the Crystal Ballroom. Laughter flowed easy between them, a rhythm I couldn't match. By closing time, Tyler was slurring invitations. "House party this weekend. My loft. Come on. G for old times." George glanced at me, hesitant. "Mason." My jaw ached from clenching. "Your call." He went alone. "Just friends," he promised, kissing my temple. "Won't stay late." He stayed till 3 a.m. Text at midnight, having fun. "Miss you." Then silence. I paced my apartment, the city lights mocking me through rain-lashed windows. Portland's nightlife pulsed on. Drag brunches tomorrow, farmers' markets at dawn, but my world narrowed to the clock. He stumbled in at dawn, reeking of weed and regret. Tyler's place got wild. Karaoke, shots. Nothing happened. Nothing. Pressed. Voice steady as a scalpel. You could have answered your phone. Lost it in the couch cushions. Come on. Mason. Trust me. Trust. The word soured. We made up in the shower. Water cascading like forgiveness. His hands mapping my body with apology. But the seed Tyler planted grew, twisting into accusations I couldn't voice. Sessions fractured next. George, healing physically, regressed emotionally, snapping at probes about his abandonment fears. You're analyzing me again, he'd growl, storming out early. One Tuesday, he didn't show. I called, voicemail. By evening, worry nod. A text from an unknown. He's at my place. Rough night. I drove to Tyler's loft in the Pearl industrial chic. Exposed brick and Eames chairs. The door cracked open to moans. Bodies entwined on a leather sectional. George and Tyler, shirts off, lips locked in a kiss that screamed history. I froze, the scene searing like acid. George jerked up, eyes wide. Mason, wait, but I was gone, tires screeching into the sleet-snarled streets. Home. I locked the door, slid down it, sobs racking. Betrayal, hot and humiliating. The therapist, played. The lover, discarded. He pounded minutes later. Open up. It wasn't, fuck. Mason. I did. Eventually. He barreled in, wild-eyed, jacket askew. Tyler's desperate. Showed up at my AA meeting, yeah. I started going. Surprise. Crying about losing his job, his dog dying. I was comforting him. That's it. Comforting. The word dripped venom. With your tongue, he winced. One kiss. Stupid. He leaned in, and I. Old habits. But I stopped. Pushed him away. Came straight here. I laughed. Hollow. Old habits. Like what? George? Sabotaging good things. His face crumpled. Don't. Not you. I love you. Messy. Stubborn me. Therapy's taught me that much. We circled each other in the living room. Accusations flying like shrapnel. He admitted the vineyard photo. A drunken reconciliation attempt. Nothing physical. I chose you. Every day. Then why does it feel like I'm the placeholder? My voice broke. The safe, steady therapist who won't leave like Tyler did. Because you are safe, he roared, then deflated. No, that's not. You're more. You see me. The wreckage. And you stay. We collapsed onto the rug. Exhausted, his head in my lap. I'm scared, he whispered. Of fucking this up. Of being too broken. I stroked his hair, tears mingling. We're both scared. That's the point. Reconciliation was tentative. No more Tyler contact. Blocked numbers. A joint session with a colleague for us as equals, not doctor-patient. Portland's winter relented to tentative spring. Cherry blossoms dusting the parks. We rebuilt, brick by therapy brick. Hikes resumed, slower, with George's limp, but the views from Council Crest felt earned, vistas of Mount Hood gleaming. Yet controversy brewed beyond our walls. Lena cornered me one morning, arms crossed. Rumor mills churning. Mason. Clients whispering about you and that welder guy. Ethics board got a tip. Anonymous, but smells like ex-boyfriend sabotage. My blood iced. Tyler. Vindictive to the end. The investigation hit like a cascade avalanche. Formal complaint. Boundary violation. Romantic entanglement with a client. My license hung by a thread, interviews, audits, the works. George stood firm. It was consensual. He saved me, but the board saw power dynamics, optics over heart. Even if mutual, the chairwoman intoned over Zoom, her face pinched as Portland's perpetual gray. Perception matters. In this climate post-Me Too, queer community scrutiny, it's a liability. I fought, citing George's progress, our mutual disclosures. But doubt crept. Had I exploited vulnerability? Portland's queer scene, once a haven, turned scrutinizing, whispers at Q-Center mixers, side-eyes at the gym. George bore it worst. This is my fault, he'd mutter, pacing my kitchen while I prepped kale salads. Dragging you into my chaos. No, I pull him close. Grounding. We chose this. Together. The climax erupted at a community forum on mental health equity. Ironic stage for our drama. Sponsored by the Pride Foundation at Powell City of Books, the auditorium buzzed with activists, therapists, survivors. I was panelist, discussing inclusive practices, when Tyler rose from the crowd, mic in hand. Dr. Ellis talks a good game, he sneered, voice amplified. But he's sleeping with his patients. Preying on vulnerability. I know, I'm the ex who got away, gasps rippled. George, in the back row, surged forward, face thunderous. Shut your lying mouth. Ty, you cheated first on me, then tried to worm back. Chaos, shouts, moderators scrambling. Tyler doubled down. Proof? Their texts. Intimate. Unprofessional. He'd hacked George's phone? Or sweet-talked it from a mutual. Security escorted him out, but damage bloomed. Phones buzzed. Local queer rags picking it up. Therapist turned lover. Portland's latest scandal? I fled to the green room, bile rising. George followed, slamming the door. I'll kill him. No. I gripped his arms, shaking. We face this. Truth out. The fallout cascaded. Clients canceled. Board fast-tracked review. Nights dissolved into arguments. George wanting to go public. Me urging caution. You're ruining everything, he yelled one stormy evening, rain lashing windows like accusations. Me, I shot back. You kissed him, invited the wolf in, he recoiled, hurt flashing. I owned that. But this, it's us against the world, Mason. Or was it just a fling? The door slammed behind him, thunder rumbling approval. Alone, I spiraled booze, bad decisions. A hookup app pinged, faceless abs, empty promises. I deleted it, but the void gaped. 2 days later, he returned, soaked and contrite, a bottle of my favorite bourbon in hand. I talked to Tyler. Confronted him at his studio. He admitted the hack, jealousy, pure spite. Pressed charges. Relief warred with weariness. And us. He knelt, vulnerable as I'd ever seen. Fight for us. Please. You're my healthy love, the one that doesn't burn out. I pulled him up, lips meeting in salt-tinged promise. Together, spring unfurled, dogwoods blooming defiant. The board cleared me, mitigating factors. George's testimony. He didn't fix me. He loved me whole, license intact, but reputation scarred. We moved in together, his bungalow our haven, tools mingling with my books. Portland whispered, but we walked prouder, hand in hand at Waterfront Blues Fest, stealing kisses amid sax solos. Love, we'd learned, wasn't absence of storm. It was dancing in the downpour. Yet shadows lingered. One humid June night, as fireflies danced over the backyard fire pit, George turned pensive. What if it's not enough? The world's still cruel. I laced fingers with his. Then we make it kinder. Starting here, summer in Portland is a brief, glorious rebellion against the gloom, sun-dappled patios, berry festivals in Hood River, the faint scent of barbecued salmon wafting from the parks. For us, it was rebirth. George's limp faded to a swagger, his welding gig stabilized with a union pushback against the bots. My practice rebounded, new clients drawn to the authentic vibe, irony not lost on me. We threw a housewarming at the bungalow, craft IPAs flowing, a playlist of Indigo Girls and Husky Fox, rainbow lanterns strung like defiant stars. Tyler vanished, relocated to Seattle after the charges stuck, a restraining order as parting gift. Whispers died, replaced by support cards from the Q Center, a feature in Just Out framing our story as queer resilience. Scandal to symbol, the byline read. George grumbled over pancakes, media circus, but clipped it for the fridge. Our love matured, less wildfire, more hearth. Mornings, coffee on the porch swing, his head on my shoulder, watching joggers on the Springwater corridor. Evenings, him tinkering in the garage, me journaling nearby, the air humming with possibility. Sex evolved too slower, exploratory, his hands learning my curves like Braille. But controversy's embers smoldered. Enter Victor Lang, a firebrand activist with a podcast empire, queer unfiltered. Bald, tattooed, voice like gravel in a blender, he cornered queer Portland like a preacher at a tent revival. His latest episode dissected our saga. Therapist praise on patient, classic cis white gay bullshit. Power abuse, wrapped in romance. Downloads spiked. My inbox flooded. Trolls calling me predator. Allies defending. George raged, wanting to clap back online. Let me at him. No. I held firm, channeling calm. Engage, and it feeds the beast. Privately, it gnawed. Was Victor right? I'd wielded influence, however unintentional. Sleepless nights, I'd wander the backyard, fireflies mocking my turmoil, the Willamette's distant murmur a lullaby of doubt. George sensed it, pulling me into bed with whispered affirmations. You're no predator. You're my hero, stubborn, sexy hero. One sweltering July 4th, we escaped to the Oregon coast, a rented cabin in Cannon Beach where Haystack Rock loomed like a sentinel. Bonfire on the beach, waves crashing applause, we toasted esmores and secrets. Remember our first fight? He mused, sand gritty between toes. Bar under the bridge, I chuckled. You smelled like bad decisions. And you, like forgiveness. He leaned in, kiss tasting of chocolate and salt. Marry me, Mason. For real. No pebbles this time. My heart stuttered. George. Rings in the cooler. Sapphire. Your birthstone. Portland jeweler. Custom. He fished it out. Kneeling in the surf. Foam licking his knees. Be my forever storm? Tears blurred the stars. Yes. God. Yes. We made love on the dunes. Urgent and eternal. The ocean bearing witness. Back home. Wedding plans bloomed tentative. Small ceremony at the Japanese garden. Koi ponds and maples framing vows. Invites to Lena. A few shipyard buddies. My estranged sister from Boise. But August brought the gale. Victor's podcast escalated. A survivor panel featuring Tyler. Voice distorted but venom clear. Mason gaslit me too. Back when. George was rebound therapy. Lies, but they stung. Amplifying old wounds. Protests erupted outside my office. Queer youth with signs. Healers or hunters. Media swarmed. KGW news vans. Op-eds in the Oregonian debating ethics in queer spaces. George shielded me, fielding calls, but strain etched his face. Sleepless, snappish. One night, post-shift, he slammed home, reeking of the yard's metallic tang. Foreman's riding me again. Says my distraction, that's you, is tanking productivity. Distraction, fury flared. After everything, not you. The noise. Victor's bullshit echoing in the lockers. He cracked a beer, chugging half. Feels like I'm the punchline. We argued in the kitchen, dishes clattering like accusations. Fight it with me, I urged. Public statement. Our truth. He slammed the counter. Your truth. I'm the patient. Remember, the broken one you fixed. The words landed like betrayal's echo. That's not, isn't it? You saw me as a project. Even now, hurt blinded. If that's how you see it, maybe Victor's right. He stormed out, truck roaring into the twilight. Hours ticked, panic clawed. I called hospitals, bars, nothing. Dawn broke without him. He returned at noon, eyes hollow, flannel rumpled. Drove to Bend. Visited Dad's grave. Mom's new husband's buried there too. Cancer, last year. Didn't know. Sympathy warred with anger. Why run? To remember why I fight. He sank to the couch, head in hands. Tyler's poison, but Victor, he's half right. I was vulnerable. You crossed lines. We both did. Confession hour. He admitted seeking Victor out months back. Post-kiss fiasco. Begging for advice. Thought I was toxic. Wanted to protect you. By feeding the wolf, betrayal renewed. Sharper. Stupid. Sorry doesn't cut it. Tears tracked his cheeks. But I love you. Deeper than fear. We embraced. Fractures mending fragile. Decided, counter the narrative. My op-ed in Willamette Week. Love isn't abuse. A therapist's reckoning. George's quote. Mason taught me healthy means honest, even when it hurts. Response flooded positive, letters from couples in similar binds. TEDx invite. Victor backed off. Exposed for sensationalism. Fall arrived golden. Leaves carpeting Forest Park. Wedding neared. Nerves jangled. My sister RSVP'd yes. With a caveat, Mom's praying for you both. Progress. But climax loomed in the unlikeliest form. George's physical cleared for a promotion. Lead welder. Union rep. Celebration dinner at Arden Garden Bistro. Candlelit and intimate. Midway through duck confit, his phone buzzed. He glanced, paled. Shipyard explosion. 2 injured. My crew. We raced to the ST. John's terminal. Sirens wailing. Acrid smoke tainting the air. Chaos. Flames licking the dry dock. Firefighters battling. Ambulances idling. George's foreman waved him over. Harper, need you inside. Assess structural. No. I grabbed his arm. You're not cleared. Have to. His eyes pleaded understanding. It's my guys. He vanished into the fray. Helmet donned. The welder's resolve I'd fallen for blazing. Minutes stretched eternal. My heart jackhammered. Then, a secondary blast. Orange bloom shattering night. Screams. Debris raining. Mason. A paramedic pulled me back as stretchers emerged. George's face, bloodied, unconscious, flashed past. Oxygen mask fogging. HSU again. Deja vu cruel. Waits in fluorescent hell. His burns superficial. Concussion moderate. But shrapnel in his thigh threatening nerve damage. Surgery tomorrow, the doc said. He's tough. Tyler called. Number unblocked for emergencies. Heard. Sending thoughts. I hung up. Venom lingering. Vigil. I held his hand through the haze, whispering vows unspoken. Don't leave me, stubborn fool. He woke groggy. First words. Did we save him? Yeah. Both out. Relief choked me. Guilt followed our fight. The promotion pressure. This your fault? He joked weakly, squeezing my fingers. Ours. But we'll heal. Recovery redux, home care. Me on leave. Portland's autumn symphony outside. Crunching leaves. Espresso steam. Intimacy shifted. Gentle massages. Shared baths. Words weaving tighter than touch. One rainy eve. As thunder rolled. He proposed again, ring on my finger. Sapphire glinting. Still yes. Always. We cried. Laughed. Made slow love. Bodies remembering. But Victor's ghost stirred once more. A final podcast. Retracting with half apology. Stories evolve. Respect to the Harpers. We tuned out, focusing inward. Wedding day dawned crisp November. Japanese garden aglow. Koi swirling like confetti. Vows under the moon bridge. In storms and stillness. I choose you. Reception at a food cart pod. Tacos. IPAs. Toasts to resilience. My sister hugged George. Welcome, brother. As stars pricked the sky. We danced. Clumsy. Perfect to Wonderwall. Portland's lights twinkling approval. Love, we'd learned, thrives in controversy's wake, human, flawed, unbreakable. We did, planting a garden instead, roses for romance, thorns for trials. Winter returned, Portland's signature cloak of mist and memory. Our first holiday season as husbands. A Charlie Brown tree in the bungalow, strung with LED icicles and ornaments from estate sales. George's welder's mask as tree topper. Absurd and us. We hosted a solstice party. Shipyard crew mingling with my clients. Boundaries blurred but honored. Lena DJing queer carols remixed with trap beats. Laughter echoed, fire crackling, the air thick with mulled wine and possibility. George thrived in his role union rep, voice for the voiceless, his limp a badge not burden. Teaching me healthy boundaries, he'd quip at meetings, nodding to me across the room. My practice evolved, group sessions on queer ethics, a book deal brewing intimate repairs, love beyond the couch. Controversy had forged us sharper, more compassionate. But betrayal's specter resurfaced in spring, insidious as ivy creeping the eaves. An envelope arrived unmarked, photos, grainy but damning. Me and George at the coast, intimate, session notes I'd shared in confidence, twisted. A note, truth hurts. End it, or this goes viral. A friend, Tyler's hand, or Victor's final lash. We traced it to a disgruntled ex-client, outed by my op-ed as too honest. Payback, petty and profound. George wanted war. Sue the bastard. I chose grace. A mediated sit-down, coffee at Heart Coffee Roasters. The guy, mid-20s, jittery with regret, crumbled. Felt exposed. Hurt. We all do, I said, echoing George's early sessions. But weaponizing pain, that's the cycle. He deleted the files, signed an NDA. No charges, humanity over hammer. The scare deepened us. What if it's always this? George murmured one night, rain tattooing the roof. World waiting to tear us down? Then we rebuild. I kissed his temple. Stronger. Summer 2026 shimmered with milestones. Our first anniversary at that Cannon Beach cabin. Waves now allies, not witnesses. We renewed vows impromptu, barefoot in the surf, sapphire ring catching foam light. Back home, Portland bloomed riotous, roses in our garden thriving, thorns pruned but present. George's garden became metaphor. He tilled soil with prosthetic-assisted tools, coaxing life from dirt. Like us, he'd say, dirt-streaked grin. Messy start, beautiful yield. My book launched to acclaim, signing at Powell's, Q snaking aisles. He stood front row, as proud. My stubborn patient, I dedicated aloud, crowd chuckling. Fall brought quiet joys. Adopting a mutt from the shelter, Beau, a lab mix with George's eyes. Walks along the Willamette, leash loose, city unfolding. Portland's essence infused us. The grit of tugboats on the river, the whimsy of floating sculptures, the unyielding spirit of folks who'd bend but not break. Yet the arc crested bittersweet. George's leg infection flared, chronic from the blast, antibiotics failing. Doctors broached amputation, quality over quantity. He fought, defiant. Not yet. Therapy, ironic, ours now mutual. Me unpacking fear of loss, him raging at fragility. Climax in November, anniversary of our wedding. OHSU or sterile lights glaring. I held his hand as saws hummed off-screen, time fracturing. Waking groggy, he quipped, cybernetic upgrade. Iron Man, baby. Recovery was odyssey. Phantom pains, rehab grinds, dark nights where he'd wake screaming. Anchored, whispering, you're whole. Always, Portland rallied. Adaptive hikes via chair, shipyard fundraisers, queer support circles. Victor even messaged, grudging respect, your story's real. Keep telling it. Spring 2027. Prosthetic fitted. George striding uneven but unbowed. We planted a victory rose, crimson, resilient. Bo chased squirrels. Laughter returned. One golden dusk. Atop Mount Tabor, city sprawling below, he turned to me. You showed me healthy love, Mason. Not perfect, raw, real. The kind that weathers. And you, my storm, taught me to dance in it. We kissed, slow and sure, Portland's lights igniting like fireflies. Life's triggers remained, betrayals past, controversies echoing, but we'd forged a dam unbreakable. Humanity's grace. In flaws, we find wholeness. In love, we endure. Years later, gray threading our hair, we'd recount it over IPAs. The hooks that reeled us, the fist on desk, the rain-soaked kiss, the ring in surf. Stubborn patience saves therapist, George toasts. I clink glasses. Healthy love, the ultimate therapy. And in Portland's endless drizzle, we thrive, two men, one story, eternally entwined.